name is Rupi. I'm an author and artist, and I am going to begin my talk with a spoken word performance. It is called Broken English. I think about the way my father pulls the family out of poverty without knowing what a vowel was. And my mother raises 4 children without being able to construct a perfect sentence in English. A discombobulated couple that landed in the new world with hopes that left a bitter taste of starvation in their mouth. No family, no friends, just man and wife, 2 university degrees that meant nothing, 1 mother tongue that was broken now, 1 swollen belly with a baby inside, a father worrying about jobs and rent, 'cause no matter what, this baby was coming. And they thought to themselves, for a split second, was it worth it to put all of our money into the dreams of a country that is swallowing us whole? And Papa looks at his woman's eyes and sees loneliness living where the iris was, wants to give her a home in a country that looks at her with the word visitor wrapped around their tongue. On their wedding day, she left an entire village to be his wife. And now she left an entire country to be a warrior. And when the winter came, they had nothing but the heat of their own bodies to keep the coldness out. And like 2 brackets, they faced one another to hold the dearest parts of them, their children, close. They turned a suitcase full of clothes into a life and regular paychecks to make sure the children of immigrants wouldn't hate them for being the children of immigrants. They worked too hard. You can tell by their hands, their eyes are begging for sleep, but our mouths were begging to be fed. And that is the most artistic thing I have ever seen. It is poetry to these ears that have never heard what passion sounds like, and my mouth is full of likes and ums when I look at their masterpiece, because there are no words in the English language that can articulate that kind of beauty. I can't compact their existence into 26 letters and call it a description. I tried once, but the adjectives needed to describe them don't even exist. So instead, I ended up with pages and pages full of words followed with commas and more words and more commas, only to realize that there are some things in the world so infinite, they could never use a full stop. So how dare you mock your mother when she opens her mouth and broken English spills out? Don't be ashamed of the fact that she split through countries to be here so you wouldn't have to cross a shoreline. Her accent is thick like honey. Hold it with your life. It's the only thing she has left from home. Don't you stomp on that richness. Instead, hang it up on the walls of museums next to Dali and Van Gogh. Her life is brilliant and tragic. Kiss the side of her tender cheek. She already knows what it sounds like to have an entire nation laugh when she speaks. She is more than our punctuation and language. We might be able to paint pictures or write stories, but she made an entire world for herself. So how is that for art? Thank you. Oh, sorry, I'm not done. Thank you. Thank you. So I began performing spoken word in grade 12. It was the Christmas break of 2009. I had just broken up with a dude after 3 years, and I thought my life completely sucked, so I needed to try something different. So it was a basement of a community center that was holding an open mic. The story of how I got there, though, started years ago when I immigrated to Canada at the age of 3.5, and right away I was lost in a sea of English-speaking human beings. There is nothing like being 5 years old in a room full of people speaking a language you don't understand, and you sitting there frantically responding in your mother tongue because you don't really know any better, and nothing but blank stares looking back at you. So instead of talking, I practiced silence up until about middle school. Fast forward 12 years to that community center basement, microphone in front of me, kind of just like this. And at first, it feels like I'm being transported back into those classrooms from my childhood again, out of place and scared that no matter what I say, that no one is gonna understand me. And then I begin to get all crazy eyes, and I'm just like, what if everybody in the room has tomatoes, and then everybody just starts to throw the tomatoes at me, and that's not ridiculous enough. Then I was like, okay, well, like I'm very fast and I can probably dodge them pretty well. And then I'm looking around and I'm realizing, damn, the guys in the room are super cute. And then I realize that this is definitely worse than being 5 years old. But anyway, I took a deep breath, kind of like how I did up here, and I began to speak and perform, and it was a rush. Being up there, loud, proud, and heard, and I was completely hooked. But what was it that I was always writing about? I'd always written about difficult subject matter. It's just what came most naturally to me. The topics came bare, raw, and hungry. And that's when it got scary, because I was always talking about things like sexual abuse and trauma and rape, peeling myself back for thousands of people on the internet. And this gave me an anxiety which never really left. So out of those experiences of sharing my work online came Milk and Honey, which is my first collection of poetry and prose. So when I began to post my work at first, this was around 2013, I was honestly just posting to document my experiences. But something about the work struck with those that read it, so that the readership kind of grew beyond my first 100 followers, which were just like close family and friends, to hundreds and thousands of strangers, basically. And so I published Milk and Honey at the end of 2014. Within 9 months, it sold an unheard of amount of copies for a poetry collection. With the success of the self-published edition came along Andrews McMeel Publishing from the United States, who then published it under their name last October. The market told us, and the market told me, that there is no space for poetry, hence why agents don't represent it and the publishers don't publish it, because if you're lucky, you'll sell about 500 copies, they told me. But Milk and Honey has gone on to sell well over 200,000 copies since 2015. We've entered, thank you. We've entered the domain of popular and even successful books where a poetry collection can compete with books and not just other poetry collections, which I think is pretty cool. Everyone, like the publishers and the agents, have been amazed at the little black book that could. However, their next question almost always is, what's next? And so I ask myself, what's next? And then I think, am I just gonna be a one-hit wonder? What if I can't maintain my authentic voice and I somehow get lost amidst what other people wanna read rather than what I wanna write? And what if everything I write after this doesn't add up? And this has been a thought kind of since last October. So while I'm asking myself these questions, everyone else is asking, where's your second book? Is there one? Are you writing it, and when is it coming out? The answer is I have absolutely no idea. I'm not writing it because I've been so empty of writing, I've been jilted from the entire process for months. I actively think that this might just be it. And then I stop and realize that I have a world of stories to tell. Each needs its proper nurturing and care, so all in due time. My body is definitely gonna create again, but having a baby takes patience and respect and love. I refuse to trade in creativity for consistency. How could I write as naturally as I did for Milk and Honey if the way or the environment I was writing in right now was so unnatural? It wasn't authentic. Authentic was recognizing that I'd written enough for now, Resilience isn't always the act of charging forward, even though sometimes I wish it was. It's recognizing and coming to terms with oneself. Who am I asked myself earlier this year in January. I'm the product of those tireless, resilient warriors like my mother, and their chase for love and for devotion and for hard work. My work is rooted in those same journeys. The room of my youth in which solitude was once my only friend, and those community centers in 2009 where I learned about what I could be. I am not a product of a casual culture dependent on consumption, so my work can't be either. Survival is a recognition of that honesty. It's assessment, taking a step back. My resilience, what I realize now, is breathing. Thank you.